When the Daystar story emerged concerning the sexual assault charges and Jonathan Lamb's daughter, many Christians expected Joyce Meyer to speak out. Why? For many years, Joyce Meyer has been an outspoken critic of sexual abuse, particularly within families. Joyce has spoken frankly about the sexual abuse that she suffered through. Through her celebrity, she has demanded accountability and restoration within the Christian community and drawn attention to the issue. Throughout the years, she has often emphasized the significance of being forthright and accepting responsibility, particularly when it concerns safeguarding vulnerable individuals. When he initially touched me and did weird things to me, I was quite young. However, when I was a preteen, it went beyond physical contact. He also forced me to labor for him. My mom apprehended him when I was a teenager. That when she unexpectedly returned home, she managed to catch him. Plus, I'll never know what it's like to have an exceptional father figure in my life. Sitting on my dad's lap, embracing him, and without worrying that it will transform into something else is an experience I will never understand. No matter how bad my agony is, I will never be able to convince my dad to go grab coffee with me so I can sit down and tell him everything. His concern is unwavering. I will never own that. At least once a week, until I became 18, he subjected me to what he did to me. Many people turned to Joyce Meyer after a scandal rocked a famous Christian family like the Lambs, who founded a ministry that millions of people seek for spiritual guidance. They wanted her to have her say, stick to her principles, which she has been preaching for years, and make her voice heard. She is a teacher who has also overcome sexual abuse and is now fighting for justice for victims. Because of this, her opinion on these matters is more respected. Conversely, Joyce Meyer has remained silent and the church world has carried on as normal. Meanwhile, she's getting a lot of social media tags from individuals who want her to speak out. The relative silence is perplexing, but the cause may be obvious. We learn more about this in one of Julie Roy's recent radio programs. In the video, Joni Lamb is forthright about the identities of her supporters and allies. The Christian world was shocked and divided by Joni Lamb's marriage to Doug Weiss, as you may recall. While some rallied behind her and encouraged her to move forward with it, others voiced their concerns about the union's future and spoke out against it. With conviction, Joni identifies in the audio the individuals who encouraged her to go through with the marriage and aided her. It's encouraging, yet it makes me wonder why Joyce Meyer and others are so timid. It also involves a large number of other individuals in this room. Will you let me read their names? Lord, I can't. I pleaded with the Lord in the 7th and 8th months, and he said, I'm putting it back together. Hub Sin spoke with the authority of a prophet. Don't pay attention to your offspring, Hub Sin advised me. There is no better person to speak to than those people right now. Her advice to him was, you have to follow the Lord, etc. Someone will tell you that the Lord will bring a partner into your life. I heard this from Drinda Cassie. I made note of every one of their names. That was in July. He roused me from my slumber 3 days earlier by informing me that the Lord had counseled him, don't close your heart and don't be afraid. Examples of such people include Q Sin and my former assistant Sam McNeil, who, after having accompanied me in some ways throughout this ordeal, subsequently sent me an August email in which she had written about how the Lord had revealed her that he was the one. She kept it from me for months before finally showing it to me. I was shown the time and date by her. Some people are just like Doug. For example, Miss America Cheryl Salem once told me I was praying, and there is not anyone I could have thought of who would be a better fit for you and your world than Doug. Many people, like Cindy Murdoch, oh well, she's my friend and she's on the table, they're going to remark. Having said that, she is the type of friend who would tell me the truth, as I have done with her many times, regardless of how she felt about it. A lot of people enjoy S. The Johnson brothers, Johnson and Darius, with whom we have traveled for 2 weeks. For what seemed like an eternity, Darius interrogated S. Johnson. As a smart preacher and close friend of Marcus, he would watch out for me like no one else. As an example, I had 2 conversations with Jimmy Evans in July. Both occurrences occurred in July, but the second one occurred too late in the month, just like the person I spoke with along the way, Karen Evans. The consensus was that the children aren't prepared just now, so please hold off. If we didn't already have a family, we definitely would have gotten married by now. It doesn't matter how soon you think you'd have gotten married if we didn't have kids. I'm just interested. That's why I'm fortunate to have friends like Rhonda Davis, a Daystar host, a spiritual leader, and my preacher of over 30 years. So, laid out for us anything you'd like to share as a Daystar host, a spiritual leader, and my preacher of over 30 years. Along with being there for me, she has prayed for me. I filled her in on all the details that the kids have no idea about. That is to say, she experienced the full range of human emotion. In Colorado Springs, Robert Debbie informed me that Doug had a reputation for being truthful. Joyce Meyer, who has contacted me multiple times, was there at our meeting. John Havey, who experienced a comparable situation and divorced his wife, brought it up in your conversation. While he avoided infidelity, he found himself in similar predicaments to Doug's. Jonathan Lamb's mother, Joni Lamb, and her persistent issues have a profound connection. In an effort to keep the family business afloat, Jonathan temporarily set aside the sexual abuse case involving his daughter. After Joni wed Doug Weiss, everything shifted. They wanted Jonathan to read a union support card on TV, but he declined. He lost his job not long after. The marriage of Joni and Doug brought to light a lot of hidden issues. Everyone who supported their relationship is now publicly unable to hold Jonathan's daughter accountable for the sexual abuse she suffered. It's likely that Joyce Meyer is currently situated there. Those hoping for an announcement from her regarding this matter may be in for a lengthy wait, as she has no plans to do so. My mother was aware that he had sexually molested me, but she was too terrified to intervene. For the rest of my life, I've had to cope with the horrific things he did to me. In a morning prayer, though, God told me, move your parents closer to where you live, buy them a small house, and take care of them until they die. This was when they were older, too. Pardon me, Satan, but please just stop. To be honest, I didn't expect God to put that task on my shoulders. However, guess what? It will return often if it is from God. That's how you can recognize when God is trying to tell you something. Telling your children to meditate is like telling Elon Musk to ride a Tesla. If he really is interested in it, if things remain put, they will remain put. You ponder it, and the next day you ponder it once more. No matter how insignificant, it is best to notify someone. I suppose that concludes the lengthy tale. And that last caveat there is, I notify someone too. Source controls spread outwards from smaller groups to larger ones, which is why I count our obedience to God as among my greatest acts of defiance against the forces of evil. Being polite to someone who has wronged you will win you more friends than anything else. Joyce Meyer's account of enduring sexual abuse is heartbreaking and moving in equal measure. Many people have felt better and healed because of her honesty. Still, I'm quite concerned about one aspect of her message. There's nothing that beats the devil more than being nice to someone who hasn't been nice to you. While this might be accurate in other contexts, it is completely unacceptable in situations involving sexual abuse. God did not intend for anyone, particularly children, to suffer, much less feel obligated to show kindness to those who wronged them, particularly for children who may be coping with unfounded feelings of shame or blame for the transgressions of others. Hearing accounts of sexual abuse like these can be devastating. Concerning the children in the audience who are currently experiencing this nightmare, what are their rights? This kind of message could further pervert their focus from seeking safety, justice, and healing to dangerously believing that it is their duty to care for those who have wronged them. People should not be burdened with this. The perpetrators of the abuse must accept responsibility for their conduct and admit when they have erred. Your self-esteem will soar when you repay the person who took your youth with acts of kindness. That is known as codependency. This language is dangerous and destructive, despite its religious and moral veneer. Neither the Bible nor good taste endorse it. Rather, it makes victims feel responsible for their abuser's acts and compels them to remain silent while pretending to be polite or courteous. Reporting the abuser and seeing to it that they are punished is the most compassionate and just thing anyone can do, not only for the victim, but for society at large. Nothing here is about exacting revenge. Rather, it is about preventing similar harm to other individuals. Anyone with knowledge of a crime must cooperate with the appropriate authorities. Doing so is also morally correct. Assailants can continue their predatory behavior unchecked if you do nothing. Victims of abuse, particularly children, were never expected by God to forgive or shield their abusers. Forgiveness is deeply personal and should never be used to excuse or shield predators from responsibility for their actions. A large number of individuals are departing from the church due to the fact that it provides cover for abusers while claiming to provide recovery. By doing so, you are essentially telling the offender that you forgive them, despite the fact that they are innocent. Nobody should ever have to let their lives be irrevocably altered by the actions of those who harmed them so profoundly. Forgiveness is the release of pent-up anger. That in no way implies you condone their poor actions or intend to save them any further pain. Forgiveness should not be interpreted as a pass for abusers. This is contrary to what God intended for the church to do when it uses the term